Everyone worries about how people vote. Almost no one thinks about what happens after, in the long, dull hours when the ballots are counted. And yet, this boring machinery, the counting, is the most fragile part of democracy, and the part you are quietly asked to trust the most. Follow a single ballot from your hand to the final result, and by the end, you'll understand why the count, not the vote, is where democracy actually lives or dies. Follow one ballot. You mark it in private and drop it into a box or a machine. In that instant, something crucial happens. Your name is separated from your choice forever. The vote must be secret, so no one can buy or coerce it. Yet it must also be counted exactly once, as really yours. Holding those two demands together, anonymous and authentic, is the first quiet miracle of the count. Now that ballot must travel, and here the danger begins. It joins thousands of others and moves from the polling place to be counted, to be aggregated, to be certified. At every step, it passes through human hands, and every handoff is a point where a ballot could be lost, added, or altered. So the whole system obsesses over one thing: the chain of custody, an unbroken, witnessed trail proving no one tampered along the way. Then comes the count. It sounds trivial, adding up marks, but at scale it is anything but. Millions of ballots, some smudged, some ambiguous, some spoiled, must each be read and judged. Machines count most, but machines can miscount, and humans checking them can err or cheat. Every method, by hand or by machine, trades speed against trust, and none is perfectly free of doubt. The world saw how fragile this is in 2000. A United States presidential election came down to a few hundred votes in Florida, and suddenly the entire planet was staring at tiny holes in paper ballots, arguing whether a half-punched card counted as a vote. The presidency hung for weeks, not on how people voted, but on how ambiguous marks were interpreted. The machinery of counting had become the whole story. But here is what should worry you more than any hanging chad. The deepest vulnerability of the count is not fraud, it is belief. A vote count can be flawless and still fail if enough people simply refuse to accept it. Democracy does not just need an accurate result, it needs a result the losing side agrees to honor, and that agreement is far more fragile than any machine. So how do you build trust in a number no single person can verify? With sunlight. Observers from every side watch the count. Totals are published precinct by precinct. And increasingly, officials run audits, hand-checking a random sample of ballots against the machine's tally so that a lie large enough to change the outcome is almost certain to be caught. Trust is not asked for. It is engineered in the open. And here is the uncomfortable modern truth. You do not actually have to rig a count to destroy it. You only have to convince enough people that it was rigged. A perfectly honest election, loudly and falsely called stolen, can do as much damage as real fraud because the product democracy sells is not just the result. It is confidence in the result, and confidence can be poisoned from the outside. Which is why the dullness is a feature, not a flaw. The slow, transparent, heavily witnessed, deliberately boring machinery of counting exists precisely to be trusted. Excitement is the enemy. A count that is predictable, checkable, and mind-numbingly procedural is a count that is hard to fake and hard to smear. Democracy's most important process is designed on purpose to be as unexciting as possible, which reframes what your ballot even is. On its own, it is a slip of paper with no power at all. It becomes a vote only when a long, fragile chain of strangers agrees to carry it faithfully, count it honestly, and then honor the total, even the losers. Your vote is not something you own. It is something an entire system has to keep a promise to make real. So the next time results roll in, don't only watch who won. Watch the quiet machinery underneath. The counting, the checking, the certifying, the agreeing to accept. Democracy's most fragile part was never the vote. It is the boring, patient business of counting it, and whether, in the end, we still trust the count. Follow any ballot far enough, and it leads to an act of faith.